Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Now, today's guest comes with a name that might briefly make a few science fiction fans pause. His name is Joseph Coop Cooper. But no, this is not the Coop Cooper, the astronaut from Interstellar making another run through space and time. This is the real world version. Joseph Coop Cooper is the co-founder of Nullshot, a collaborative platform transforming live conversations into working applications. And he's joining me today from Hong Kong, and Coop brings a background that spans gaming, crypto, and now AI-driven product creation. And in this conversation today, we're going to explore how Nullshot is challenging the isolated nature of many AI tools and reintroducing collaboration into the creative process. From jam rooms to co-ownership models, he's going to share how his team is building a space where ideas evolve collectively and where contribution is visible, valued and rewarded. But for me, what makes this discussion especially interesting is how it reframes the role of AI from a solo productivity assistant into a shared creative partner. And he will argue today that the real breakthrough happens when teams stop working around each other and start building together in the open, with AI just acting as the connective tissue between people, ideas and execution. So if you've ever wished your team could build together in real time instead of working in parallel silos, this episode will hopefully get you thinking. As always, a quick thank you to our sponsor this month for backing all the shows on the Tech Talks network. And I'm currently producing more than 60 different interviews a month, and that takes a real collaboration. And I'm proud to work with partners who believe in open conversation about how technology can drive progress. If you've been listening to any podcast on Tech Talks Network for a while now, you will know I'm always trying to find practical tools that make security feel less like a chore. Security that doesn't frustrate users or slow them down from doing their work. And Nord Layer is one of them. It's built for real businesses, the kind that have people working in multiple cities, countries, time zones and networks. But best of all, it gives you enterprise-level security without the enterprise-level headache. Setup literally takes minutes, and it scales as your team grows, and it protects you against the kind of threats that never make the headlines until it's too late. So why not give your team the protection that they deserve? Visit nordlayer.com/techtalksdaily and use the coupon code TechDaily-28 and you'll even get 28% off your plan, part of a special Black Friday deal that we've got at the moment. So check that out and let me know your thoughts. But now, let's get today's guest on. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Joseph Cooper. I go by Coop, and I'm a serial entrepreneur and engineer. I've been programming since I was 9 years old, started by modding video games and found my passion in coding. And then eventually 6 companies later, I've been around the block from gaming to crypto to dev tools and all this jazz. And today we're working on Nullshot, where we're trying to make it easy for people to just play with AI and build awesome stuff together.
Love that. And I love how you've been on a journey there. Started with gaming, progressing into crypto. Obviously now we're talking about AI. And before we get into your vision for collective creativity, can you tell me a bit more about the origin story, that moment when you first realized that current AI tools were pushing people towards working alone rather than collaborating, which is traditional in creative teams? But tell me more about that moment and that eureka moment.
Yeah, it's a bit of a twofold question, because when I started chatting with like ChatGPT, I grew up in chat rooms. So when I'm chatting with something, it's usually a multiple larger room thing in IRC. And then eventually AIM, MSN had the, individual chats, and then we have texting, etc. But just chatting with an AI alone, I see all this creativity and infinite knowledge, but I've always wanted to be able to enable it or collaborate in an open way. And that's where jam rooms came into be. It's like, let's just see what happens when you and I and everybody together can just start talking to AI, describing our ideas and see it come to life in real time. And the real magic came when we built a prototype. I built this little dashboard that looked really cool and had all this real-time data, but it wasn't too pretty. And I went to sleep, and the next day our designer found the room and she made it look amazing. And that feeling of waking up the next day where I didn't know somebody was going to work on it and they just took it to the next level was that eureka moment where we knew, okay, open collaborative workspaces is pretty awesome.
I love it. And I love you bringing back the chat rooms there. I think we've all got fond memories of those. And fast forward to present day, for listeners that are tuning in around the world, hearing about Nullshot for the very first time, how would you describe exactly what it is and the gap that you felt it needed to fill?
And the main gap we're filling is taking chats into apps via a social chat room experience.
Yeah.
And that's the main difference, is that all these other, let's call them vibe coding platforms or AI enabled platforms or no code platforms, are really just making it possible for you as the individual to contribute to your ecosystem or your company or whatever. But the real creativity and juice comes when you all can just hang out together, kind of like in Slack, and you start talking about an idea. And then literally the AI shows up and builds that idea in real time, instantaneously. So you can literally see your idea come to life, and you can love it or hate it in real time, and then iterate from there.
And as you said, the creative juice comes from collaboration. And again, if we look at your journey here, was there a particular experience that you had that showed you that creative work really does gain energy when groups build together instead of separately? You must have so many stories there, but do any spring to mind?
Yeah, the key thing is everybody has an idea or has ideas to contribute to companies or products or anything really. And sometimes you're shy. Sometimes it's hard to put it down on paper. Sometimes it's hard to influence the room. And the best way to do that is actually when people are enabled to actually showcase a prototype or show the idea. So when I started building companies and I enabled engineers to just ship any idea, any fix, any feature on their own, all the way to, let's just call it the testing environment, instead of needing to pitch an idea, what they would do is they would just show the prototype. So there was no pitch. It's just literally already built. You get to play with it, feel it. And being able to skip that step enables you to not only accept the idea better because it might feel cool, but you remove the need for imagination. You literally could just see what the person was trying to produce. So if you do that, but then you open it up to anybody from marketing teams to individuals who don't have engineering experience, that's where the real magic is going to start coming together.
And I think everyone listening would have had an idea for a solution at some point, but that next step of bringing it to life, that's something that people often struggle with. So for any wannabe founders that could be listening to our conversation today, when you look back at that earliest sketches of an idea, what was the spark that made you think a live shared building space could actually work? And where did you go from there, from taking it from just an idea to a sketch on a paper to actually going out and building this?
Yeah, for me as a founder, I kind of get obsessed with ideas to the point where I almost have too many. And for me, it's probably about making sure that you actually want to invest time and energy into it. But now with AI, you can literally just see your ideas in real time almost. I keep talking about the concept of how the cost of IP is going to zero. And you literally every idea can almost be created instantaneously in the next 5 years is how I imagine it. So being able to do that, it pretty much enables me because I just have too many ideas, I think.
No, that is no bad thing. You mentioned at the very beginning there around gaming and crypto. And if we look at Ava launch, I think that was a cryptocurrency launch pad, a custom dashboard for the original Xbox console. So much going on there. But what lessons did you learn from the launch of that? And how did that shape the shift towards a platform where people can really build and co-own apps and AI agents all in real time? Tell me about that.
Yeah, Ava launch was the number one launch pad for the Avalanche ecosystem.
Yeah.
So what that means is that when people were originally in 2021 looking to fundraise for a new token, and the Avalanche ecosystem, we would be the go-to place to make that happen. So we've helped raise almost 40 million US to date. And the evolution of like how we went from a token launchpad to a completely like different world and how does it all connect is two things. One is I became a partner recently with the two original co-founders. And so we co-founded this new expansion called Zeva Labs, where we want to push the utility of the Zeva token further. And then we also have been thinking about like permissionless launchpads, because right now we launch tokens in a permission way. You need to get permission with us and partner with us in order to raise. But when you look at Pump Fun or Virtuals and all these other great places, people could just go create and deploy a token in a click. And that's where we want to go. We think it is a pretty awesome space. So then the question came, well, what are people going to launch? Because we don't want to just do meme coins again. We don't want to force people to just do random tokens. And that's where we brought an AI into the fold, where let's tokenize these creations from the public. And when somebody creates something really cool and highly used and popular, you could tokenize it, you can co-own it, and that is what you are launching on Nullshot.
And when talking about Nullshot there, we've gone from idea to sketch to bringing it to life. Of course, the next stage is early testing and community sessions. When you got to that stage, how did people behave when they finally had this space that was purposely designed for them for collective creation? Did any stories surface from that, and how the platform was used? Because very often as a founder, you will create something a certain way, but then the creative community will find different uses for it. But how did everyone react when they had this platform?
There's many different reactions right now. The first is that when you hand over AI to somebody, or that they can create their ideas literally within a chat, it's still magical today, right? Because there's one step where you just speak to GPT and you get infinite information, but being able to enable an LLM to be able to do or build something for you is still one of those moments where there's literally billions of people on earth that have not seen that yet. So just showing that is already magic. And the second piece is when you have, let's say, chess. We built a very basic chessboard game you could play against a computer, and you are a user of that, app. When you have the ability to just say, hey, I want to actually play the Blitz version of chess, you could literally do that right there on our platform. So that's what's really cool, is that your community and your users can actually become builders within your community and your app. So that's probably the other last like magic part that we've been really feeling. But the ideas that people have are crazy, like tutorials and all these other like really good learning and education things that have been coming up. I've been pretty impressed of what people have been thinking about.
And when I was doing a little research on you, one of the things that kept coming up there was how you talk a lot about fair credit and contribution. So where did that focus come from in your personal and professional life? Is there a story there?
Yeah, it's from many businesses to dealing with equity and figuring out the financer and launching my own Kickstarter campaign. There's just many different ways of trying to get an idea off the ground. And I believe now with AI, like ideas are going to be able to see them come to life is going to be much, much more affordable. And we can see smaller investments that can really take things forward to literally no investments with just a little bit of AI to be able to see what's going on. And with that, then comes who are the people that are contributing to the value of this app, and how do you quantify value of what is popular, what is actually used without it being gamed, or somebody just showing up and doing some random chats and somehow owning 50% of the product. And that's where we've been really figuring out how could we be able to create some sort of system to be able to give people ownership based on their contributions, based on their ideas. And how we do that right now is we are using AI to govern and observe what people contribute. And of course, people are spending money on AI to build. So there's a bit of capital that's going in that factors it all. But AI actually is really good at sentiment and understanding what people like and what people are using.
And for every creative listening anywhere in the world, hearing about Nullshot for the very first time, how would you explain to people why co-building in a live room feels so much more different from using, let's say, a traditional AI tool on their own? How would you describe that difference that you're seeing there?
The difference is that you will be surprised what other people in the room do.
Yeah,
Because usually when you're in a meeting, you have, let's say 10 people in the room and maybe 8 of them are silently observing. But
yeah,
when you can get everybody to be empowered to be actioned, to have action and be able to contribute in all ways of an idea, then that's where it's really cool is that these rooms become these dynamic threads where everybody can literally create their own version or contribute their own piece. And at the same time, you can go see what Coop's working on, or Bob, or Jake, or Jane. And you could just scroll through it and you'd be like, hey, that's awesome. Hey, let's change this. Hey, let's accept that. And you can do it in minutes. That's what's really cool about all of it. You can literally sit there. The other cool thing is that streamers or communities could come together in a single room and do the same thing. So we actually had YGG, the Yield Guild Games, and we opened it up for all of them to be able to like, hey, here's a product, let's start jamming. And people just showed up and just started having AI mod the basis for it together as a community. And it feels like you're part of something. So there's a lot of different aspects to it that's really, really magical.
and I'm curious when we're talking about that magical aspect there. Have early users done anything inside Nullshot that maybe surprised you, or even changed how you think about shared creativity? Any stories there that may have surprised you as the founder?
I believe the educational piece was the really cool thing where somebody was creating a jam for jams. It's almost Inception like. And what it is it's just a place to be able to archive some of the best jams. Because historically, what happens is when you contribute a feature or a new thing to an app, there is a clear thread of the chats that occurred that built that app. So it's actually really interesting to go read how somebody built something and see that old version, from 6 months ago of like, oh, that's what that app used to look like. And they started archiving some of the threads and are creating kind of an introductory series to how do you start jamming on Nullshot. And that just came out of a complete stranger in our community, which was really cool.
And as you look ahead into what 2026 and beyond, what kind of possibilities do you see opening up when ownership, collaboration, and AI creation are all happening in that same space? How do you see this shaping maybe the next wave of digital work? What's the big picture you see here?
Well, that's a whole 2 hour answer for you, but let me see what I can do. But it's first, I believe full businesses could be built in jam rooms. And that means that if you want to monetize something or you want, 1 million users to start using it, this is all possible today due to the advancements of not just AI, but technology itself and being able to scale these things. So that's what's really cool is that these aren't just prototypes. These are full on fledged apps that could be used. The other thing is that I believe some of these ideas are, not everybody has an idea. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. So there's different ways that you might want to, co-create. So one of the ways that we'll have early next year before we launch our tokenization platform is being able to co-create shorts. So 15 to 60-second videos and be able to test the latest models in one place and one shot and tokenize them. And if you made something that goes viral within our channels, 100% of the revenue would go to the contributors of whoever created these 15 to 60-second shorts. So videos is like one of those very easy, I can spend 5 minutes and see something awesome. And apps is something that you might spend weeks on and noodle with until you feel, very happy with. So we want to try to find a balance of like the casual and the hardcore builders in the space.
Love it. And for anyone listening wanting to find out more information about Nullshot or how to get up and running, etc., contact your team. Where's the best starting point for everything?
Nullshot.ai is definitely the best spot, and just click that start jam button at the top right. Yeah. And if you're looking for support or any just, creative juices, we have our discord.gg/nullshot. as well. And I'm in there every week on different time zones, friendly around the world, doing office hours for 2 hours. So you can literally show up with an idea and we can jam together.
And for anyone listening that have just put nullshot.ai into their browser, they're starting to take a look around. Maybe they want to introduce a jam room for their team or wider collaboration. Any final tips on how to get the most out of the platform from landing on that site to what they should be doing and getting the most out of the platform? Any big tips there?
Nothing big. There's a big start jam button at the top right. That's our main place. And then you can put in a prompt or start by chatting. And right after that, there's a nice little invitation model to invite your friends to come. Otherwise, you could just copy paste the link, post it publicly, post it to your community, and you could just start co-creating together.
Awesome. Well, I will add links to everything. Make it as easy as possible for anyone listening to drop by, check it out. I can hear a lot of people on the way to the office now thinking about how they will be able to use this. And I do encourage them to do just that. And I'd be interested in the kind of feedback we get from anybody that we send your way that get up and running on there. But more than anything, just thank you for sharing your story today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been nice.
A big thank you to Coop today for sharing the thinking behind Nullshot and the belief that creativity becomes more powerful when people build alongside each other rather than isolation. And I think his journey from modding games as a child to shaping collaborative AI environments for global communities, I think these things are a reminder that the future of creation is as much about people as it is about technology. And the idea that chats can actually become real products and that contribution can be fairly recognised, I think opens up some genuinely thought-provoking possibilities for teams, creators, and indeed founders alike. But I think what stood out most for me was the emphasis on shared ownership and the idea that value can be linked to genuine contribution. And in a landscape where many tools prioritise speed over substance, I think their approach there is highlighting a different path, one that respects creativity, encourages participation, and gives people a stake in what they want to help to build, and together. So for anyone listening that wants to experience this collaborative approach firsthand, I'll include the relevant links in the show notes so you can maybe start your first jam. And if you do, please let me know. Let me know your thoughts, your experiences, the good, the bad, the indifferent. I want to hear it all. So pop by techtalksnetwork.com. You'll find 3,500 interviews over 9 podcasts there. And you can also send me a quick DM on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. But that's it for today. So thank you for listening as always. Join me again tomorrow for another episode. Speak to you then. Bye for now.